flowers for a long time through the Weston Garden Club, primarily, and doing things outside of that, doing weddings and workshops over the past few years. And a little over a year ago, we decided to officially start a business.
The name of our company is A Natural Arrangement.
So we thought that we would start by just going over some of the basics of how to arrange flowers. This is one that I put together. I'm actually going to take it apart and redo it for you guys, but this is what we are aiming for. It's called a mass arrangement. Mass arrangements tend to be pretty easy for beginners to do because they're symmetrical, and you can place things around, and there's kind of a variety of things
And they're meant to be viewed on all sides.
And then there are other arrangements that are meant to be viewed on one side. So if you think about it like a mantelpiece arrangement, you don't really need to do that much in the back because you're only seeing the front. Trish likes to arrange in a different manner than sort of a traditional way. And it's kind of a new way of arranging.
So I'm going to show you a little bit of a different style of arrangement, which is going to be more of a crescent shape arrangement. So it'll come up on one side. You can view it on all sides. I love a footed container. I just think it gives air and depth to it. So it'll have a different feel than this, although we're going to try and use the same materials.
So when you purchase flowers, whether you get them at the grocery store or Whole Foods, or even if you went into a market and bought them, the first thing you do is condition them, and that's a really important step. You want to choose flowers that suit the container. So some containers are very contemporary, and you probably wouldn't use really traditional flowers in a very contemporary container. You might choose something that's more architectural.
One other thing, though, I'd like to mention is that kind of our philosophy is seasonal flowers, trying to use what's evocative of the season, even if we can't go out to our yards and cut. Like, for instance, I was hoping to have daffodils and forsythia today from my yard, but we have snow, and we don't have it. But I do have some stuff here, and all the branches here. And please go out and look in your yard, because even if it's November, even if it's this time right now, even with a tough spring, I use stuff like pachysandra just to cover my rim over here. And I think most people have pachysandra or something like that in their yard. And these are curly willow branches and spirea branches and lacothaway, all from my yard, that you can take and use up for greening. And you're welcome to use this. This is something I use all the time too. This is called umbrella pine. And I don't even use it just around the holidays. I use it now because it's a great off-center to something like this. It's complete opposite of that. And so it's a nice contrast. Highly encourage everybody to get out and look in their yards and see what they have, especially for the basic stuff for greening up your container. So I think I'll get started. We're going to kind of arrange at the same time. I'm starting as you were starting, so we'll go kind of step by step through what you are going to do. And we start first with greening up the container. And so this is geranium leaf. If you rub it, it smells really good. It's a scented geranium. When you look at a leaf, I could either put this into a vase and just keep it whole, and it's kind of ungainly and too big. And it also, I'm not making it go very far. So we start looking at where can we cut to get multiple cuts out of something and use this piece many times to make it go further. Oh, and there's a little bud on the top of that one too.
So here's my green material. I'm going to go around the edges with it. You want to cover up the edges of your container so that when you are finished, you don't see any of the harshness of the edge. So have it drape over.
Also, too, don't forget about the foliage. So this is called a stilde that you'll all have in your pile, and this green, the floral, the leafy part of the stilde is great greening up your container. So don't discard that when you're looking to green up your container. I used it here.
Okay, so I've gone around the edges. It's not, you're not looking for perfection, so it's not like one leaf needs to exactly match the other leaf on the side, but in general, it's overhanging the edges. I used 2 stems. You all have 2 stems, but I cut 2 stems and got this much coverage from my 2 stems because I cut it apart in different pieces. So I've greened it up, and I'm going to put the rice flower in next because it has a nice woody stem. And when that's in the water, it's going to, again, as I said, provide structure and cross hatch underneath so that when you put more material in, you're creating a more stable place to put the flowers. So with this material, I'm going around, again, evenly distributing it.
And it's a little bit taller.
Yes, and it's taller.
Don't you take the leaves off the bottom?
I should be, but brush it. Sorry, you're right. You're right.
Good call.
And with the rice flour, again, you can make a lot of different cuts on one piece. So with this piece, I would cut here. So I get this. And then down here for that. And then I might want a longer piece to be in the center for that. So by doing this, you're providing some all-over coverage of a floral material. It's really the filler material, and it's just kind of setting the line and the design of what you're making. So now, all we have to do is start filling in evenly around.
And notice the line is starting in the middle because she's got something taller right up the middle. And that's what we mean when we say set the line. You
Say
color
that again?
the line, meaning
The
this,
overall height.
the height. And so typically with a mass arrangement, you will have something taller than the other elements right up the middle. It doesn't necessarily have to be a certain height, but it just has to be taller than the other elements.
I have a question about, like, before you start, how do you know how many flowers to
Yeah.
assume
That's a
for
good
that
question.
thing?
That's a good
Because, like, it always takes more flowers than I
It does.
count for, and like for a tiny arrangement, I would never imagine all this stuff is going to go in there. So
And it will.
I
So for this, everybody got 5 tulips.
It's a recipe.
Yeah, we come up with a
know.
recipe.
It is. That's what I.
Yeah,
It's a
5
recipe.
tulips, the 2 stems of this rice flower, but you get a lot of cuts from it. So that's why this is really economical, because it goes really far. The geranium leaf, again, everyone got 2, but you can do multiple cuts, so it goes really far. A still bee, this is a still bee. You can generally cut this into a couple of pieces, so we gave everybody 2 stems, again, of that. The viburnum, because it has multiple flowers on it.
I thought we just gave everybody 2 of these. You have 3 in here.
There we go. So each one of those I'm going to cut apart and use separately. So you look at what you're buying. If you're buying something that has a lot of flowers on it, you look at it and say, well, I can probably get 3, I can use it 3 times when you're calculating. But it does take more material than you think, even for something like this.
Another way to sort of, if you've got something like a tulip, I opened this tulip up because I want to create a focal flower. I want it to be wide open. I don't want it to necessarily be a point. So I want this to be like what you're going to look at. So I opened it up like this just by bending down the leaves, and that'll give you a completely different look. It'll be grounded, and I'm just going to put that right in there over my lip. So
Do you want that in the front or just?
that's going to be in the front,
Yeah.
right on the bottom, and it's going to anchor the arrangement. I might do that again on the other side.
Got it.
So next I want to use my form flower, and these are these beautiful tulips. They're a large form, and when we arrange, we typically put a large form down lower. You don't want everything up high in your arrangement. So, some are low, and the eye will be drawn there, and then some are higher, the eye will go up there.
And it's personal preference, but personally, I don't like the foliage from tulips too much, so I usually take it off and again handle them. But if you like the pointy foliage, keep it on, but I tend not to. I think you kind of like it.
So I've evenly distributed these. I have 1 in the center and 4 spread around the container, so that no matter how you're looking at it, you see a tulip. And then next I'm going to put the viburnum in, which again is kind of a large form. So once you've greened up and you've done kind of some of this filler, you start with your larger forms and get those in, because it's harder to go back later and place really big pieces of material. So start large and then get smaller from there. If I burn them there, and there. This is a still bee.
We love a still bee.
And if you look at this, again, you could use it as a whole, but it's pretty big. This is what I mean by scale. See how large this is overall to the whole arrangement? I don't want something so dominant in here, so I'm going to cut this.
Why Why didn't you want something so dominant?
Because it will overwhelm.
We want it to be feathered and sort of throughout in the mass arrangement. In this one, not so much.
Got it.
So I can use the top part and put it in over here. Put another one in over here.
That looks nice.
See, and it's tucked in, we get all the color and the point from it, but it's not overwhelming because, and with the Hypericum berry, we want to take off all the leaves because they're really nasty and they never look good, so don't leave them on. And Hypericum, again, you can look at and perhaps get 2 cuts from.
Oh, yes.
Hypericum. And this is just an accent for texture. Oh, we were going to give someone one of ours. And then I'm just going to finish up with some pussy willow.
Did you talk about Hypericum and how you take these leaves off no matter?
Yes, I did say that.
No matter what, those are the ugliest things ever, just take them off.
You never put anything under these greens, right?
Oh, sure.
Oh yeah, no,
Okay.
you can weave things in and throughout.
I have a little hole there.
Yeah.
And I'm just messing around here too. This is the front of this arrangement. This is probably one that would probably be viewed on one side. I have something fun here called Butterfly Ranunculus, which I love the movement of, and you guys are, this is all I have of it, but I'm gonna add that a little bit towards the center here too, to just give it some up and down movement. You see how it kind of, how's that beautiful?
So many flowers.
Yeah. But you guys, this is just another style. This is the kind of thing that I like to do, sort of with a lot of air and a lot of movement. And again, the line is set with the branches. And I'm going to put a few more branches in here. And if you guys want to add branches to yours, please do that, because at the end it'll give a little bit of a... It gives it air. Gives it space, and space is important in a flower arrangement. You have to see, in order to see the whole overall, you have to have some space in it.
Yep, absolutely. So to finish off, I'm putting in the pussy willow because it's springtime, and that again I'm distributing all around so that it draws your eye all around. And I'm done.